Living in Maplewood Estates was supposed to be perfect. Quiet streets, manicured lawns, and a friendly community. But everything changed when Karen Thompson took over as president of the Homeowners Association. From the moment she got elected, under some shady circumstances, I might add, she ruled with an iron fist. She thrived on power, making up ridiculous rules and handing out excessive fines like candy. She started enforcing absurd restrictions, like dictating the exact shade of green residents could paint their front doors and charging outrageous fees for minor infractions, like leaving a trash bin on the curb 5 minutes past pickup time. No one dared to challenge her, but I always had a feeling something deeper was going on. At first, I didn't think much of it. Annoying? Yes, but nothing criminal. That was until I started noticing something really strange. I had always paid my HOA dues on time, but year after year, the fees just kept increasing. The thing is, the so-called improvements she promised never happened. The clubhouse roof, still falling apart. The community pool, still outdated. And somehow our landscaping budget had tripled despite the fact that the neighborhood looked exactly the same. When I checked the budget reports, the numbers didn't add up. According to the paperwork, we were spending tens of thousands of dollars on new irrigation systems. Yet my backyard still flooded every time it rained. As someone who spent decades working in accounting, I knew something wasn't right. I decided to take a closer look at the HOA financials. Karen, of course, kept stalling when I asked for records. That only made me more suspicious. She used every excuse in the book. Oh, the files are with the auditors. We had a system crash, or it's none of your concern. But I wasn't buying it. Since she wouldn't hand over the records, I started piecing things together myself. I tracked old reports, bank transactions, and payment receipts, and that's when I saw it. Large payments to a company called Greenscape Solutions, LLC, a landscaping company that had supposedly been handling all our community's maintenance. I had never heard of them, and when I looked them up online, they didn't exist. No business license, no website, nothing. Then I checked who owned it. And guess what? Karen Thompson. That's when I knew she was stealing from all of us. Digging deeper, I uncovered a tangled web of fraudulent invoices and fabricated expenses. Karen had been funneling money through Greenscape Solutions for years, billing the HOA for fake projects and pocketing the cash. I found a single transaction for $25,000 labeled tree removal, yet there wasn't a single missing tree in the entire neighborhood. Another invoice for $12,000 was listed as clubhouse repairs, but the clubhouse still had the same leaky roof and broken windows it had for years. The numbers kept adding up. After compiling everything, I estimated that Karen had embezzled at least $850,000 over the past 5 years. Nearly $1 million gone, and no one had noticed. I wasn't about to confront her without solid proof. I spent weeks collecting everything I could. Bank statements, forged documents, misappropriated funds. It was all there. I even found records showing she had used HOA funds for a trip to Hawaii, labeled as a board retreat. Airline tickets, luxury hotel stays, and spa treatments all charged to the association's account. I wasn't the only one who had suspicions. Lisa Carter, a neighbor and journalist, had also been investigating Karen. When I reached out to her, she was more than happy to help. Together, we built a rock-solid case. We even hired a private investigator to track down Karen's personal purchases, and that's when we found the final nail in the coffin. She had used HOA funds to buy herself a brand new Mercedes-Benz. As we dug even further, we uncovered just how far Karen had gone to cover her tracks. She had multiple fake invoices filed under different names, each leading back to either Greenscape Solutions or one of her shell companies. One of them, Thompson Property Maintenance, had been receiving payments for services like sidewalk restoration and street sweeping, jobs that had never actually been done. In fact, the HOA had a separate contract with an actual maintenance company, but Karen had been pocketing those payments as well, while still collecting extra money through her fake company. Even worse, Karen had been running an intimidation campaign against anyone who questioned her. One resident, an elderly man named George, had received threats after inquiring about the HOA budget. Someone had slashed his car tires, and a mysterious anonymous letter had appeared in his mailbox warning him to stop asking questions. Another neighbor, Michelle, had received a fine for unapproved lawn decor after she had spoken up against Karen at a board meeting. The fine? $500 for a garden gnome that had been in her yard for years. It was clear Karen wasn't just stealing, she was ruling the community through fear. And we had one last move to make. The next HOA meeting was packed. Word had gotten around that something big was about to happen. I stood up first and looked Karen right in the eye. Karen, can you explain why thousands of dollars in HOA funds were sent to Greenscape Solutions, LLC? The room fell silent. Karen's face went pale for a second, but she quickly recovered, letting out one of her fake laughs. That's absurd. If you don't understand accounting, maybe you should leave it to the professionals. That's when Lisa stood up and slapped a folder full of documents onto the table. Then maybe you can explain why Greenscape Solutions doesn't exist and why you're the registered owner. Karen's face turned ghost white. This is slander. You'll regret this, she shrieked. Too bad for her. She was about to regret a lot more. Before Karen could even try to squirm her way out of it, the doors swung open. 2 FBI agents walked in and flashed their badges. Karen Thompson, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and financial misconduct. The room erupted into chaos. Some people gasped, others cheered, and Karen, she started screaming. This is a mistake. I did nothing wrong. I run this community. The agents didn't care. They slapped handcuffs on her and walked her out in front of everyone. It was, without a doubt, one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Turns out Karen had been embezzling HOA funds for over 5 years, funneling money into her fake company and using it for luxury vacations, designer clothes, and even a new car. Her bank accounts were frozen, her house was seized, and she was sentenced to 10 years in prison with full restitution, ordered to repay everything she stole. The rest of the board, desperate to save themselves, resigned in disgrace. A new honest HOA was elected, and the stolen funds were slowly restored to the community. As for me and Lisa, we became heroes. A few months later, I turned on the local news and saw Karen's mugshot flash across the screen with the headline, Former HOA President sentenced to 10 years for embezzling nearly $1 million. I smiled, turned off the TV, and finally enjoyed a peaceful evening in my neighborhood.